By the mid-18th century, a group of private shareholders had built the world's most formidable superpower. This entity operated through a strictly corporate structure, answering only to the pursuit of quarterly returns. A board of directors in London governed entire cities they had never set foot in. They dictated the fate of millions through ledger entries and profit margins, managing an empire from a mahogany table thousands of miles away. This original royal charter of the East India Company granted an absolute monopoly over all British trade in Asia. Buried within this dense legal text was a provision authorizing these businessmen to wage war, mint money, and command fortresses for their investors. In this era, a legalized monopoly proved to be a more effective weapon than the cannon. Early spice trade was a brutal physical gamble. Wooden ships spent 6 months at sea dodging violent typhoons and aggressive pirate fleets. Even with the risk of vanishing at sea, the rewards were irresistible. A single ship returning packed with pepper and textiles multiplied an investor's capital instantly. To stabilize these profits, the company shifted its strategy. They replaced temporary anchorages with permanent stone fortresses in places like Madras to secure assets. These fortresses served as a direct physical challenge to local rulers and rival European merchants. Building a permanent military presence on a foreign coastline made armed conflict a mathematical certainty. Securing these markets required the logistical transformation of a commercial enterprise into a military state. Profits now depended as much on artillery as they did on inventory. This map illustrates the 18th century Indian subcontinent. It reveals a deeply fractured landscape, divided into competing regional empires as central Mughal power declined. The company exploited these divides, using immense corporate capital to fund the winning side of local civil wars, effectively purchasing political control. When purchasing allies was no longer enough, the company escalated. They built a massive, privately owned mercenary army to enforce corporate mandates at the point of a bayonet. Maintaining a standing army on a corporate payroll acted as a violent accelerant. Every business dispute now carried the potential to escalate into a full-scale artillery bombardment. Driven by shareholders who demanded endless growth, the company made ruthless military conquest a core part of its business model. The company eventually pivoted from trading goods to extracting wealth directly through territorial taxation. They turned the very land they occupied into a source of systematic revenue. Corporate conquest follows a cold, binary logic. If a region failed to meet its tax quotas, the company would burn the local resources to ensure no rival could profit from them. This ledger shows how the company processed human life. Agricultural collapse and starvation were recorded as numerical deficits on a spreadsheet. Their control was total. Clerks dictated exactly what farmers could grow, forcing them to abandon food production for export commodities like indigo. Look at this currency. It bears the East India Company stamp, proving these foreign executives had replaced the local state. They collected taxes and issued money while still claiming they were merely protecting trade. When a society is managed purely as a balance sheet, catastrophic human suffering is the inevitable output. Wealth siphoned from India flowed back to London, where company officials used their plundered riches to buy seats in Parliament. They effectively purchased the political influence needed to protect their monopoly. The British government struggled to regulate the entity it had created. By the 19th century, the East India Company was funding so much of the national economy that it had become too large for the state to control. Financial control could not suppress human resentment forever. Decades of corporate oppression culminated in the massive, bloody rebellion of 1857, which shattered the company's grip on the subcontinent. The British state responded by nationalizing the empire. They revoked the company's charter and dismantled its board of directors, moving India under the direct sovereign control of the crown. This collapse revealed a vital truth. A corporation can assemble the capital to seize power, but it lacks the moral legitimacy required to govern a people. The East India Company's true legacy is the industrialization of exploitation. They developed the administrative systems to make human greed perfectly scalable and legally protected. They created a blueprint for institutional violence, proving that atrocities could be justified so long as they were recorded as just doing business in a corporate ledger. The legal framework they pioneered, the joint stock corporation, remains the fundamental architecture of global business today. This structure allows modern entities to exert influence across borders while distancing shareholders from the consequences of the company's actions. We are left to wonder what happens when a modern institution grows large enough to control the essential infrastructure and data that underpins our daily lives. Could another megacorporation take over the world today, or are there limits to corporate power? Click the next video to find out.